Good morning, students. Hope everyone is doing fine. So, today I'm here to discuss with you a poem which is Legend of the Northland, written by the poet Phoebe Carey. Okay, so this poem is basically a ballad. And you know what is a ballad? A ballad is a song narrating a story in short stanzas. Ballads are a part of folk culture or popular culture and are passed on orally from one generation to the next. So these are ballads are just like songs, stories in song form, which are passed on from one generation to another orally. Okay, so this legend of the Northland is also a ballad. So in this poem, we'll learn how a lady was punished because she was too selfish by one of our most pious Saint Peter, who lived on the earth. So the story goes like this. Okay, it is set in the place called Northland. Okay, where it's very cold. So you will see in the first stanza, away in the Northland, where the hours of the day are few, and the nights are so long in winter that they cannot sleep them through. So it says that in the first stanza that it's a place called in Northland, and the hours of the day are very few. That means short. The day is short, and the nights are so long in winter. Especially during the winter, the days are short and the nights are very long, and the people cannot sleep them through. It's so long that the people are fed up of sleeping, so they cannot sleep also. And where what they do in the winter season, when it is too snowy, in the second stanza you will see where they harness the swift reindeer. Okay, so the reindeer, which is an animal, people what they do, they tie the reindeers to sledges, and the reindeers pull the sledges so that they can travel from one place to the other, in order, because it is very snowy and slippery. That's why they use the help of reindeers, which pull them with pull the sledges and help them in transportation. Okay, so you see, and the children look like bear's cub in a funny furry clothes. So the children over there, because of the cold weather, they wear two furry clothes and they look like funny. They look so funny, and they look like bear cubs. Okay, the small ones of the bear, they look like them. So in this country, a story goes a story is very popular. Okay, so the story goes like that. Okay, but the poet says that he does not believe in it, but since it's a legend, okay, he just want to share it with us. So how the story, maybe the story, even if it is not true also, it teaches a great lesson to humanity. So what the story goes like that. They tell him a curious story. I don't believe it's true. He says that. The poet says that he doesn't believe that it is true. And yet you may learn a lesson if I tell the tale to you. So he says that even if it may not be true, but it has great lesson for humanity, for you and me. So what the story is like that. Once when the good Saint Peter lived in the world below. Okay, Saint Peter at the time, he was preaching the word of God to the people in the earth. So he was what? He lived in the earth. At that time he was alive. Okay, it was way back when Saint Peter used to live on this earth. And walked about it preaching just as he did. That means what he did, he was a preacher of Christ. Okay, Christianity, and he preached the good things about Christ on this earth. So one day what happened, he went on preaching from door to door, from house to house. He used to go and tell them about the good things of Christ and Christianity, and he used to convince people to live a very good life. Okay, so one day he came to the door of a cottage in traveling around the earth. So he was traveling all over the world, and so around the earth, and he visited a lady. Okay, a lady's cottage. Okay, so what the lady was doing, he was making cakes and baking them on the hearth. Okay, on the fire he was making what? He was making cakes. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cakes to give him a single one. So what he asked? He was very hungry because he was traveling from house to house, preaching the good news to the people. So he became so hungry and he's so tired that he asked the lady to give him one piece of cake. A single one. He did not ask for more also. He just asked for one piece only. So she made a very little cake. So what a lady was not a very kind lady. What she did, she made a very small cake and a very little one. But as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. But when she started baking the cake seemed so large that she felt that it would not be wise on her part to give it away to a stranger. Such a big cake, she thought that it was of no use to give it to a stranger. He was very stingy and very greedy also, so she was hesitated to give the cake to Saint Peter. So she decided to make another one, a smaller one this time, and still a smaller one. But it looked, when she turned it over, as large as the first had done. So, but when she turned it and looked at it, it looked like the first one only. It looked the same way like the first one, and so this time also she hesitated to give the cake to Saint Peter. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat. So what did a very tiny piece she took out, and then she rolled it very flat and baked it as thin as wafer and made it so thin it became like a wafer only. Okay, but that too she could not part with. She did not want to give that also. And here Saint Peter was so hungry waiting for the cake, but this lady could not decide which cake to bake. Every time she baked, she saw that it was big, and she thought that she will not give it to a stranger. For she said, "My cakes that seem too small when I eat of them myself are yet too large to give away." So she put them on herself. Yeah, this cake may seem very small for me when I will eat it myself, but to give it away to another person, it is too big. So this was the kind of selfish mentality that she had in her mind. Okay. Then what happened? Saint Peter, who was really hungry and tired, became very angry. Okay, very angry. And surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Okay, so what happened? A saint, a great person, who was a religious person, he became very angry and he decided to do something about it, because human beings should not be this much selfish. It is not good for a human being to be selfish at this level. Okay, in this level. And he said, "You are far too selfish to dwell in a human form. You are not fit to dwell in a human form. You don't fit into the category of human beings. You are not fit to become a human being. Because human beings' mentality should not be like that. You don't have any sense of sharing, love, sympathy, and no emotional attachment towards anyone. So it's better you don't remain a human being, because people like you are of no use to the society anyway." Okay, so he says that you are not fit, you are too selfish to dwell in a human form. You are not fit to have this form of a human being, to have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. You have food and shelter and everything to keep you warm, but I tell you that you are not, actually you don't deserve it. You are not fit to be a human being. So what he cursed her, okay, and what he said, "Now you shall build as the birds do, and shall get your scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood." So he gave her a curse and said that, since you're so greedy, since you don't want to offer a piece of cake to me also, from now onwards what you will do, you will struggle very hard to get your food. You have to bore the whole day and you will get little food. Okay, all day in the hard dry wood, that also in the wood, you have to pick, you have to bore it until and unless you get your food. So you will have to struggle really hard to get your food, because now you don't want to give away a small piece of cake to me. So you see what I am going to do to you. Okay, you are really not fit to be a human being. Then up she went through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to a bird. So after Saint Peter cursed her, she suddenly changed into a woodpecker, and she flew up the chimney without saying a word, without saying anything, because she could not say anything. Why? Because she was already turned to a woodpecker, and birds don't speak. So you'll see, her human form was taken away from her because she was very selfish. But one thing remained unchanged, and that was when she was baking the cake, she had a scarlet cape on her head. Okay, she had a cape around her head, and that was left the same. So in the capper also, woodpecker also, you will find the cap on the head. Okay, that was that remained the same. And the rest, what happened? All the rest of her clothes were burned black as coal in the flames. So the clothes were burned in the chimney, because she was at a time in the kitchen preparing the cake. So it was burned into the coal, as black as coal in the flame. And every country schoolboy has seen her in the wood where she lives in the trees till very day, boring and boring for food. And it is said that every boy, every schoolboy, every country schoolboy has seen this lady who has been turned into a woodpecker. And whenever they used to come and go to school, they used to see her. And what she used to do? She used to live in the woods, boring and boring hard for food. Okay, so the poem is a very simple one. It just conveys the message that as humans we need to have certain qualities in us. Okay, we should have positive qualities, not negative ones. Okay, we should have very positive qualities like love, affection, generosity, and most important, a sense of sharing. You need to share your things with others. When others are in need, you need to share. Those who will not share will surely be punished, like the lady who was turned into a woodpecker. This shows that this gives us an idea that selfishness is ultimately going to be punished. So those who are selfish, you will be punished ultimately. So it's better as human beings we develop certain qualities of affection, love, generosity, and the most important thing the poet teaches us, to be sharing to one another, to be kind to one another. So hope all of you like the poem. Thank you.